Keith, this is Amanda Recker and Brianna Goring.
Hey Amanda, how are you doing?
Pretty good. We had a scheduled interview for today. Are you still able to do that with us?
Yes, I am. Go ahead. I'm ready for it. Let me go ahead. I'm going to pull up the same list of questions that you sent me.
Okay. Well, let's just start at the beginning right now. We were curious how you came into the career of crisis negotiation to begin with.
Certainly. How many folks, if you don't mind, how many folks am I on speaker with?
Just two. Myself
okay.
and...
Yourself and your colleague?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. The field is a very narrow and small population of individuals who, one, will become a crisis and or hostage negotiator, and it bears the name of two, and there's a reason behind that. And the way I came about it was I was a police officer in Hillsborough County for 10 years. And, about my third year in, I made a decision that you'll take a track. You pick a track and you kind of run with that. Some guys take the SWAT route. Some guys go with the bomb team, the dive team. It's a specialty track. Not everyone does that because it's all voluntary, and I decided I would go with, at that time, what was known as the crisis management team as opposed to the crisis negotiation team. And so it was just a personal decision of coming into it. I'd love to tell you a great story of how I wanted to save the world, but that's not the case.
So what type of training do you get when you pick this track and go towards becoming a crisis manager?
Absolutely. There's several different things that you can do. Obviously, continual education has to occur. At the University of North Florida, at a place, a location called the Institute of Police Technology and Management, IPTM.org or .com is what it is. They host several courses, and those are a level 1, a level 2, a level 3. Those are three distinct one-week courses that deals in abnormal psychology, the use of third-party intermediaries, the history of negotiations, where it was at, where we are now, how to negotiate for a human life as opposed to a barricaded, criminal that has just been, he's like a mouse or a rat trapped in a room, or even a suicidal subject. So we go through all of those levels. Then you have negotiating in a corrections environment, and then with special populations, you will continually go through various courses. And with special populations, by that I mean, negotiating with an autistic individual, negotiating with the elderly, negotiating with the hearing impaired, negotiating with a fellow officer, negotiating with a returning war veteran. You will continually go through these classes and find out, really what your specialty is, because not everybody can one, become a negotiator and or an effective communicator. And then the second is, not everyone has the patience or can have empathy towards every population that's out there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hi, this is Brianna. We haven't met. I just wanted to...
Brianna, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Our next question for you is, what is the typical environment, meaning when you're negotiating with someone, what is the typical environment that you're in? Are you with a team, or is it just one-on-one?
It's a good question, and the question is basically, you will be on a public street. Let's say you're negotiating with an individual who's barricaded themselves in a structure, a house, a dwelling, something of that nature. You're going to shut the streets down. You're going to be out on the road. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be inside of some sort of negotiating vehicle that has been obtained over the years, and it's going to be outfitted with some communication devices to where you can stay in there and kind of, if you will, live in a cocoon for a number of hours. In that, you're not going to ever go out by yourself. As a matter of fact, you have to have at least one other negotiator with you at all times. That individual will be known as your backup negotiator or your secondary negotiator. Um, so they're going to be with you. The second part of that is, typically speaking, you wouldn't even go out with just two. You would take out an entire complement. The team that I was on was made up of 11 individuals, and we would send out every single person on the team would get a page to come out. But then if you go to Jacksonville, they have two different teams made up of 15 people on each team, but they're only on call 6 months out of the year. I was on call 355 days out of the year. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Our next question is, what is the preparation that goes prior to being put in the negotiation situation? Are you briefed before you arrive? Are you briefed on the situation and even maybe past the person's history?
I think you have to go back a little bit further to answer that question properly, and it would be this. There has to be a lot of pre-incident education and pre-incident planning, even before you get, if you will, even before you're handed the responsibility by the agency to ever respond to an individual in a state of crisis, because that's what you're doing. And what you have to do is you have to attend all of those training days and really demonstrate your ability to understand each of the positions within the negotiation cell. And once you've done that, then you can become, if you will, that primary negotiator, which, by the way, does not resolve the situation. The negotiator who's on the phone is not the one who's actually going to resolve the situation. It's going to be those team members that are behind you that are dealing with all of the intelligence management aspect of the actual episode. Once you're activated, there's several ways of activation. The first is, let's go with the standard barricade suicide. An individual is experiencing depression, has not been clinically diagnosed with any type of mental illness, and wants to kill themselves. That would be a bona fide call that would happen religiously around the United States, probably as we speak. And you would just get a call that says, "Hey, we have an individual that patrol has responded to. They have been unsuccessful in their attempts to communicate with them. We're going to need some other individuals with a better skill set than what we have on scene." You would come out there. In any case now I'm going to fast forward, whether it's a barricade suicide, a barricade suspect, or a barricade hostage taking. Whatever the case may be, the very first thing that you have to do is you have to interview the initial first responder. Face to face, voice to voice. I don't want to hear a third party through any other formats, meaning supervisors or other people who are on scene. You have to have that given to the intelligence gatherer of your negotiation team, and then from there, you're just going to continually build upon the foundations that you have already in place. You'll try and identify the individual. Once he or she is identified, then you'll begin doing a background check on them, doing weapons checks on them, finding out what has gotten you to this point. And that takes about 3 hours. Typical call-outs last anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, so it will take you a good 2 to 3 hours to get all of the vital information that you're looking for.
Okay, so you talked about different areas of the team, either intel management or primary negotiation leader. So out of all of these different aspects, what do you think is the hardest job when you are in this crisis negotiation team?
The secondary negotiator. He's the secondary negotiator or the backup negotiator.
Okay.
That individual is multitasking to the nth degree. If there's ever an individual who will be both mentally and physically drained at the conclusion of a negotiation, it will be that individual. He is the protector of the primary negotiator. No one is allowed to communicate with the primary negotiator at any time during actual, if you will, phone time. No one can do that. So information intelligence-wise that's coming to them. Although the negotiation itself believes that it's important information to pass forward and have the primary negotiator communicate with the subject about, the problem is if it's not at the right time. Timing is everything here. So that individual has to vet that information that's coming forward and say, is it appropriate to insert it at this very moment? With that being said, as he or she is reading that information, listening to the conversations of the team, they're also listening to the conversations of the negotiation. But then they're doing one other, probably the hardest part, keeping the negotiator